There's no way this guy plays in the Mongolian domestic scene and fists all of these players for like years, and they go, "Nah, you shouldn't be on the team." Like when you play in a small domestic scene and you've got one player who's just that good,
Yeah.
like you just want that guy on your team. You don't want to have to fucking verse him.
We are back, and so is Asian Counter-Strike, or so that's what they say. Maybe we'll have a bit of a chat about that. Depends on how Counter-Strike 2 goes, if Counter-Strike 2 goes, and what does that all mean for Asian Counter-Strike. That's kind of what we're here to discuss. It's been a long time since we did Geographically Challenged, and an even longer time since we did a Counter-Strike Geographically Challenged. So we're back to the roots. The last episode that we did with Counter-Strike was episode number 30, which was in July 2021. So that's nearly 2 years ago. So yeah, we're here to run it back. We've got Pilly, we've got Bleh, the OG3 back once again, and we've got a lot of interesting topics to discuss. Skor released from IHC. We've got Rooster and Grayhound at ESL Pro League. Azza into Sprout. Dust2.India. Which is going to be an interesting discussion topic, I'm sure. Source 2, of course, and how that all relates to Asian Counter-Strike. And as you would know, if you're a returning viewer, the timestamps are always in the description. Shout outs to our sponsor as well, which is absolutely bloody nobody at this point. But you can buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy if you want to support the show, which would be nice, because then I can buy Pilski and Bleh beers when we eventually work together.
So you don't even drink coffee, but you're asking people to buy you coffee.
If you follow the link, Pilski, you will see that it does actually say buy me a beer, but it's you can't have that as the URL. By the way, I just want you to say, Pilski, that I did buy you a beer once with the Geographically Challenged Fund. It was at
when was that?
At GG Easy Bar.
Okay.
You don't remember?
Wait, I actually remember. I actually think I remember. Which event was this?
I don't know. It might have been like DreamHack or something, to be honest. No, it would have been before that. It would have been way before that. But I want someone to like prove that I'm not just like stealing all this money.
So you asked the one guy who would never remember the one time you bought me a beer 2 years ago.
I mean, I bought Pilski whiskey in Jakarta, so that's there.
That went so well.
At some point, you guys will get your cut of the Geographically Challenged beer fund, but I don't know when that will be. And for what it's worth, it's not that much, so maybe 1 or 2 beers. But look, let's crack on into it. I want to get a quick update from you, Bleh, because it's been a long time since we actually spoke. Well, how's things gone? You're Mr. Big Shot now. I mean, but you're still back here on Geographically Challenged. You're still an Asian CS lover.
Yeah, you can't really take the Asian CS out of a person, I've kind of realized, right? It looked like it was dead, I won't lie. Like you said, 2021, July, last episode of CS, and it kind of felt like Asian CS was not just, on the downswing, it was kind of dead, right? You had Tai Lu, you maybe had the Vici guys and Rare Adam and a couple of other Chinese teams. Of course, the Mongolians were still playing. And then you have, like, IHC have this breakout year, so to speak, right? We saw them play in the... in both the majors, and I saw them in the last the RMR, and they completely fucking smashed Greyhound and Tai Lu, if I'm not mistaken. He just completely destroyed them. I'm like, okay, these guys look like easily the best team in Asia. Big whoop, no one cares. Then they take out Furia and Cloud9. They look pretty good doing it as well. I'm like, okay, looks like it's back on the menu, boys. And also like a few changes, right? We're going to be talking about a Counter-Strike Source 2 coming out. It looks very inevitable at this point, right? I want to see how that's going to be. Hopefully making waves of changes in the region. We've had a few news as well, like you pointed out, like Dust2.in and a couple of other things, It's looking, I wouldn't say it's looking great for Asian CS, but at least there's a heartbeat. There's a bit of a pulse. Yeah. And that's why we're back here.
I'm glad that you feel the exact same way as I do, because that's kind of the reason that I was like, hey, why don't we just spin the podcast up again? Because like, I'm kind of starting to get some rumbles of positivity, and I feel like back in 2021 when we were like, oh, should we make this a Valorant podcast, and dabbled with that a little bit, it was kind of like, it was very hard to come onto this and say, hey guys, let's do a Counter-Strike podcast, because there was barely anything to talk about, and whatever it was that there was to talk about was very depressing stuff. It was just like, oh, this team has now gone to Valorant, or that team has now decided to quit CS, and blah, 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 whatever. So we're at that point now. I think we've gone through like a year and a half, 2 years of kind of retraction, disappointment, and now things maybe are starting to trend positively. But that's, a greater discussion that we'll have a little bit later on. Again, timestamps if you want to jump to that I think it'll probably be during the Source 2 discussion. But let's start off with the hot topic of the month, which is IHC and Skor. So what the hell is going on here? This is an interesting change. Obviously, as many people would know, Skor's been removed from IHC. I think that very much is obvious. Obviously, we saw his Instagram post where he said that this was not his decision, that, I think based on that, he probably would have wanted to stay. The other evidence toward that as well is that he was there for basically 1 year. He had that contract. You could see that it was basically a 12-month contract to the day, and then he was released on that day that 12-month contract did end. So very interesting decision on the surface of it. Bleh, I know you sort of spoke about this a little bit on HLTV Confirmed. Now, you mentioned there that Hastaka was going to come in as the replacement. I kind of did a little bit of digging, and I remember obviously on that show you did say that was just a rumor. I've done some digging there as well. I haven't seen anything official, but there was another tweet that came out today which linked it back to a deleted Instagram post on Mesa HQ's story, something like that. So that might be where that rumor's starting. I don't know where you heard that, but Hastaka in for Skor, I'm not so sure I'm sold on that as a decision, because Skor seemed like one of their better performers.
Yeah, Skor. Look, if it was like a replacement of, let's say, Blitz, I mean, he's obviously standing, right? So let's say they're like, all right, Cabal's not going to be playing anymore. It's going to be Hastaka coming in. I can kind of see it, but then Skor is a star player, right? Techno 4K, he's got his moments. Annihilation, he's got a clutch ability. Blitz, obviously, for me, he's the best player in the team, right? He's IGL, he's a heavy fragger as well, but Skor is his right-hand man. So him being taken out, I feel the two sides of the story. I'm going to get into a little bit of conspiracy theories over here. Firstly, sure, fair enough. He made an Instagram story as well saying he got removed from the team. So I guess that's fair. That's true, right? At the same time, you got to look at what's happening with IHC. The parent company have been in a lot of turmoil, right? A few of their founders being arrested because of whatever shit they were up to. Now, obviously, if your parent company, the main founders are in a bit of a pickle, you as an org are going to be struggling a little bit when it comes to maybe salaries, maybe the prize pool split. We all know that when it comes to a lot of Asian orgs, the prize pool split can be a little wonky, right? When it comes to salaries and whatnot. I'm thinking, and that there was maybe a renegotiation by Skor or his parties. Again, you got to remember all these kids are very, very fucking young, right? So I'm assuming they might have, I don't know, could be family members, could be their managers or whatever, trying to look out for them. And IoT yeah, sorry, we can't pay you. We're not going to pay you more than what you had earlier. Or maybe they're looking for a cheaper option or something. Because logically, when it comes to them playing as a team, I just don't see why you would remove Skor. Could be something outside of the server as well, right? But it didn't seem evident to me. You watched them play, for example. And one thing which stood out to me with IHC was how, I guess it's a trend with a lot of the Mongolian teams as well. They're not very emotive when it comes to their body language when they're playing the game, right? Everyone's super calm and composed. Annihilation wins a 1v3 and everyone's like, nice. That's it, right? No expression whatsoever. Pretty much, right? But Skor was the Alistair. Skor was the guy who was going nice and yelling and hyping everyone up. It looked like he was a really good fit for his team when it came to that. Obviously, individually as well, I think he's one of the more consistent players. And what sucks for me is the fact that I made a tweet about this as well. It's not like when, Bentet left Hai Lu, where he was clearly the best player in the team, right? Or when he was playing for his the Indonesian team earlier on. Or let's say if Dankin gets taken out or Kazi gets taken out from Rare Adam, how big of a hit they would take. What I like about IHC is the way they played, right? The comms are good, the comms are clean, the individuals seem to kind of fit the roles. Yes, they're still very green behind the ears when it comes to certain moments and whatnot, but these are easily fixable. This is a team I could see potentially, fingers crossed, maybe cracking top 25, top 20 perhaps by the end of the year if they're able to continue on this trajectory. But with this taking place, I think it's a hit to both, right? From what I know, from my sources, Skor doesn't have a team right now. He is looking for a team right now, and obviously, when you're in the best team in Asia and you get removed, you don't want to probably join some other team like Eruption or NKT or whatever. You'll probably want to move to Europe, right, or something like that. So it's kind of a fucky situation, if you ask me, for both the sides. But unfortunately, I don't think anyone has any clear-cut answers apart from maybe the players themselves.
Yeah. What do you think, Pilski? Because obviously, Blez, mentioned that Skor was kind of one of the better performers. Again, I did a little bit of the digging there, and I looked up the stats, and stats aren't everything, and I think we can sort of talk about the eye test as well, and you can mention how it seemed like Skor was quite impactful, but over the last 12 months, he was their second highest rated player behind Blitz with a 1.14 rating. And then if you further sort of bring that down to like big events, so when they're playing overseas, basically, 0.98 rating, and he was actually their highest rated player. So, when they're going and playing against international competition, the argument can be made that he was their best player. So what do you think about removing Sk0r? I mean, we always were excited to see this guy playing back in the D13 days. Him and Annihilation were like the two from that roster that we thought, yeah, these are the guys that are kind of legit, that could be the way forward. And, to see them kind of reunited in IHC was a really nice storyline that I was always looking forward to watching. But, very surprising for me.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would make that move. At least like watching Sk0r's career for like the longest time and looking at like the Mongolian scene, it's like he's not like a replaceable player. Like maybe they have such a good system that they can slot someone else in and try to go for a different angle. But in terms of just one for one as an individual person, he is probably one of the most complete players in Mongolia. He's just mechanical skill is so high. He can AWP a little bit. He's able to read the game and lurk a fair bit. So like the pacing of his game, he can kind of pitch it up or down tempo. Like I remember when he was playing like quite aggro, like on D13 a little while ago, and like he was like second in. And I think like I feel like on IHC, I've seen him in a lot of lurk roles and stuff like that as well. Like they kind of let him take the pace of the game. So I feel like with how young he is and just how well-rounded his skill set is, he can do a little bit of everything. It makes no sense to replace him. Is Hasteka like as a pickup? Is that like a stand-in situation? Because at least from what I remember, like with D13, like these are not like this is not a situation where you're like, oh, we're taking like a young star player out and we're replacing him with someone who's like for like. Like I don't remember Hasteka being anything like Sk0r as a player at all.
No, and I
don't think it was.
What the other interesting thing there is like obviously Cabal. The assumption for me as well is Cabal is starting to come back. So like, yeah, I think you could. I think you touched on this a little bit, Blair, but you could kind of maybe in a world where you're saying, okay, Cabal's coming back, someone has to lose their spot. Like, I'm still not choosing Sk0r, but like I can see a world where you don't cut Cabal, if that makes sense. Like Cabal's he's the guy, right? He's coming back, you put him back in the team no matter what. So someone has to go and make way. But it's not even as if that's the case, right? It's like, okay, Cabal's coming back in, but then we're also picking another player up. So we're still kind of persisting with this 6-man core, right? They have this 6-man core that they sort of, it's not really a 6-man core, but like they have a 5-man core plus a 6th player that gets a lot of playtime. So, there was the perfect opportunity to just say, okay, we're going to go back to 5 core and, play like a normal team. But they're still now kind of having this 6-man core type situation.
I mean, for me, it's like, at least in the original team, like before they started having these international results, Sk0r was uncuttable and was by far the best player in the team. In Asia, he was absolutely fisting everyone on every team he played for. He even got picked up by NKT for a while, into an international team outside of the Mongolian scene because he was that good. They were like, we have to have this guy. This guy's fucking insane. So like, I feel like he was uncuttable. And then now with like having seen the team perform internationally, exactly like Blair said, like I feel like Blitz is like uncuttable. He's like, I don't even remember him being as good as he is now when he was like on Checkmate. I feel like he's kind of thrived and improved going international, which is super rare. Usually, for Asian CS players, they get way worse. They start choking or they can't get out of the routines that they've kind of developed, practicing and playing in Asia for so long. It feels like he's like almost embraced playing internationally and gotten used to that play style. So I don't know. For me on IHC, I was looking at like Blitz and Sk0r are the only players who to me I would never cut. Like I think you're fucking insane to cut either of those guys. Annihilation is like super inconsistent. So for me, even him, he's not super uncuttable, but his ceiling is so high and the kind of bullshit that he can get away with, he could just win rounds that he has no business winning. I almost feel like he's someone that is almost worth keeping because he can kind of put you over the top. And then like some of the other boys, they're just kind of like filling roles, I suppose. So for me, if I was going to put Cabal back in the team, I'm putting him in for Techno or Bartak, but like I don't know. I guess I don't know what's happened. Like whenever this kind of thing happens, it has to be not the straightforward answer. Like he's played in the team for so long, it can't be down to things like chemistry or like inexperience and stuff like that. Well, like not after he's played for such a long time, surely.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought about with that was like, okay, maybe
is he not gelling with the team?
Is he not gelling with the team? But he played with Annihilation on D13 for so long as well.
Yeah.
Like, even there's like that connection. So I mean, yeah, maybe it can be the other players, or maybe it's the system, whatever. There's arguments to be made there, but you know, like you look at
There's no way this guy
games, and
plays.
it's just.
There's no way this guy plays in the Mongolian domestic scene and fists all of these players for like years, and they go, "Nah, you shouldn't be on the team."
So
like when you play in a small domestic scene and you've got one player who's just that good,
yeah,
like you just want that guy on your team. You don't want to have to fucking verse him. He's going to
you
go to a
have to
different
work
team,
around
and then
it.
you got to play him in a qualifier.
But it's also like you have to work around him, right? This is a team, you know, it's not an international team, right? Not going to be picking up some, I don't know, you kind of just pick up Bented and be like, hey, we're just going to go back to what it was earlier. Even Bented in Prime, again, the language thing comes into place. I think the good thing with this team is they're all Mongolian, right? It works for them. So you cut on paper the best Mongolian player you have. You are taking a step back, no matter how you look at it, right? And also one thing I got to remember is like with this team, when they picked up Techno 4K earlier last year, we saw how it took a while to like kind of stabilize, so to speak, right? He was very nervous when he played his first RMR, the major and whatnot. Then he got better. Then Annihilation came in for the Rio major, and he struggled as well initially. Now he's, again, I agree with Pilski, very inconsistent, but at least you can see him, you know, playing with a little bit more confidence, so to speak, right? He's getting a lot of clutches in here and there. Now you pick up a new player, even if it's like some unknown gem, which Mongolia seems to shit out every fucking few months. Even then, it's going to take a while for him to ramp up. So as an org, as a team, you're taking a big, massive step back. So I still am going to subscribe to the fact that it has to do with the org and, you know, and with the contract and some negotiations falling through or something. But it is unfortunate, and I kind of still wish and hope that they take him back or something. You know, they come to an agreement, or maybe fucking, you know, I don't know, EG fires everyone. EG fires everyone they have. They pick up IHC, and they pick up Skor, and they pick up whoever, you know, and they're like, oh, we're going to have a 7-man roster. I just want to believe, man. Put your money where you might get something out of it.
We're back in 2018. Where Bleh's like, we should send this Asian player over to a North American team. Like it was
no. I'm not saying Skor. I'm not saying Skor.
Whatever.
They should pick up IHC as
you want to pick up the
entire
whole
team.
Yeah.
And pick up Skor as well, and be like, all right, guys, here's some money, here's some stability. We're going to make sure our performance coach is not going to be speaking to you at all. Do whatever the fuck you're doing. Stay in Ulaanbaatar and win some shit. I think that would be the ideal happy place for me.
I think that's actually one of the important talking points, if that were to ever happen, is that I would be very surprised if an international org picked up that team, or, you know, a group of those players and tried to get them to move overseas. I'm not actually sure that that's the play, because like you look
I don't think they should.
Yeah, you look at someone like Kabal, right? He's got a fucking wife and a kid. So yeah. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to go overseas at that point.
I don't think you should. But yeah, boot camp, right? So for extended periods of time or something like that, like just be like an international team. Look, here's the fact, right? If you're not from Europe and you want to be competitive when it comes to international counters, right? You got to do what teams like Liquid do, right? Or Complexity for that matter. Sure, they're from NA, a couple of them are actually from South Africa as well, in the case of Complexity, and yet they boot camp quite often in Europe. It's a hard life, I won't lie, but that's what you have to do. And maybe an org like EG, it could be anyone else, could maybe help them out a little bit. I'd be happy if that happened.
Yeah,
it's just so triggering as an Asian CS fan, though, that finally a team starts like ascending again, and just like, oh, this is not it. This is not the move. Like, it's the worst news possible. Literally, collectively, the whole scene when that report came out was like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, come on, boys.
4 weeks before the
You just made it. Yeah. You just made it, boys. Please.
So, 2 questions then to close this out before we move on to the next topic. And first one is like, does this obviously make them weaker going into the minor? What does it mean for IHC going into the minor? And the second question is like, obviously, we have no idea, but where does Skor go, right? What does this mean for the rest of the Mongolian scene? You know, does he just get pulled into someone like Eruption or Clutch Gaming or Renewal or something like that, like one of these teams that's just sort of sitting behind IHC and then powers them up a little bit? Because like that's the obvious thing. Like if I'm any one of those teams, I think you look at that and think, oh, Skor's a free agent. Where can we fit him into our team?
Yeah, I mean, the domestic roster shuffles are always the way that it goes. Like Mongolia has been one of those scenes where, yeah, you always have the roster shuffles going back however many years. There's always been a couple competitive teams. And that's been the beautiful thing about their scene is like Mesa and all of these tournament organizers, similar to ESL for us here in Oz. There's a reason why Asian CS is not, you know, so diverse anymore. It's because the scenes that have solid organization and solid, tournaments to play and actually have a supported scene that has kind of stood the test of time, and also hasn't been super well supported by Valorant, other ones that are thriving in Counter-Strike. So Mongolia is a perfect example. I don't think I've even seen a Mongolian Valorant game on VLR or anything. The Aussie scene, let's not even get into that. That's a fucking mess. That's I don't even want to touch with the 10-foot pole, but there's a reason why, Aussie CS is still thriving, and that's because not only is Valorant not an attractive enough option for some of these regions, but also, the CS organizations and the TOs are doing such a fucking bang up job, and that's why they keep just getting this talent out there.
You got anything you want to leave us with here, Blair, before we move on?
I don't want to say that the RMR is going to be now, with IHC not its clear favorites. I still feel they play a much cleaner, a better brand of Counter-Strike, as opposed to virtually everyone else, right? They're like Rare Atom at their best, but without the random bullshit, right? They look pretty fucking solid overall.
Factor.
But that being said, right? Like, you're losing your second best player, Blitz is a right-hand man, you have Azteca coming in, whoever they fucking pick up, and the RMR is less than a month away. And now you're going to be going up against a brand of Counter-Strike, which you haven't been practicing against for a while, right? You've been used to playing into like the likes of Cloud9 and the complexities of all these teams who've been playing in EPL and Katowice. And it suddenly, it can be a bit of a, it can be a little strange when you have someone like, fucking Tyloo Danking just running in like a motherfucker and just like, trying to do whatever bullshit he does. And they're like, fucking hell, Cloud9 never did this. Furia, maybe Furia, right? But like, I do fear for them a little bit, especially losing the firepower they had in the form of Skor. But that being said, I do want to still have a little bit of faith in Blitz and a system they built around this team. So they're still a favorite for me. Maybe not clear-cut top one, but I wouldn't put anyone else above them right now.
I think I agree. Like, I think this kind of stuff doesn't stop the team overall and the experience that they've got over at the international tournaments. They're still ahead of the rest of the scene. That's just what happens every time. We used to have it in the Aussie scene where whatever team went over, they would come back and fist everyone and be a fair bit stronger and quite hard to beat. So I think that's still going to be the same. I think this kind of move, though, stops them from pushing further when it comes to actually trying to push the top teams and getting these upsets, because you chop in that tiny little bit of firepower, and once you get into the top 15, top 20 in Europe, even some of like the tier 2, tier 3 European teams, all these guys are so fucking talented that if you're picking up some burnt toast cunt who can't aim in a straight line like Skor can, it's not going to be good enough.
Well, I think we won't have long to wait to find out how this is going to go. Obviously, mine is only about 3 weeks away, so not a whole lot of time to sort of reintegrate this whole system for IHC, and not a lot of time for us to sort of wait and see, I guess, how that's all going to play out. But I kind of agree with you, Blue. I think, like, obviously this doesn't pull IHC back enough in my eyes that they're still not going to go into that minor as pretty much the favorite. I do want to do a minor preview episode of Geographically Challenged before that actually does happen, so probably in about a couple of weeks' time. So hey, if you're keen on that, let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you've got any questions as well, make sure you let us know in the comments, because that was actually one of my favorite parts of doing Geographically Challenged, was answering people's questions. So yeah, look forward to that. So let's not, dive too deep into that discussion today. We'll do that in a couple of weeks' time, and obviously we'll at that point have been able to see Rare Atom, for example, as well, playing in ESL Pro League. But speaking of ESL Pro League, that's where we're going to head now. That's the big talking point, I guess, of this week, and it pertains mostly to Australian Counter-Strike, but obviously that feeds into Asia. So let's talk Rooster and Grayhound in ESL Pro League. Pilski, I don't know how much you actually got to watch, because I know this was pretty cooked hours for us, but I've actually been having an awful sleep schedule, so I've watched quite a bit of Rooster and Grayhound playing at ESL Pro League, and I got to say, I've actually been pretty impressed. I've been quite happy with what we've got. Let's start off with talking about Rooster. I think going into ESL Pro League, right, it's kind of like their first international event as a team. They had a bit of a boot camp prior to it as well. For me personally, I don't think that the expectations were super high for Rooster. Like, I've always been a fan of what they've been able to bring to the server. I think they're an enjoyable team to watch, but because it was their first event, because they've recently made some roster changes, I don't know that going into this I really expected them to do anything, quite frankly, even with such a boot camp. But I think the ESL Pro League format's actually really good for Aussie teams and for Asian teams as well, right? You get your minimum 3 games. So normally it's like, in the past it used to be like you'd play one best of one against like a FaZe or an Astralis or a whatever, lose that, 16-2, best of 3 against some other decent team like an NIP or a Fnatic or something like that, and then it's like, all right, see ya, you're off home. Now, at the very least, you get one best of 3 against like a tier 1 team. Like, so they basically go 0-2 against FaZe. We can completely ignore that result. I don't even think that's worth talking about.
Hey, at least those first couple of rounds were nice.
Sure. I mean, there was moments.
Couple of rounds.
The first couple of rounds on UT side, I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then,
But there's moments, right? And that's the important takeaway. Then they go on, they lose to Pain, 0-2. Okay, fair enough. But they definitely had moments again, right? And I think for me, like watching all these games and just to sort of round it out, the 1-2 against 0-0 Nation, I thought was definitely winnable. I mean, they were up 12-3 on Inferno. They lost that map 16-14. It's, you know, they missed out on the 2-0 there, and that's a painful one. But then again, you know, based on what we saw this morning happened to FaZe, I think they were up like 13-2 or 14-1 or something on Anubis, and then they still went on to lose that map. So if it can happen to FaZe, I think it's fair enough that it can happen to Rooster is probably my 2 cents there. But you know, just to finally say my piece before I let you guys have a bit of a run here, I think the highlights for me, ADK and the clutches and the impact that he was able to have, especially for someone that, you know, we kind of underrated a little bit going into that event. We, you know, Pilski, you and I both thought, that's an interesting change because Dangerous looked really good. But ADK, he definitely had some really, really good moments. They call him, the Inspector now. I think I'm going to try and make that a thing. I think that's pretty cool. And ASAP being the most consistent at the event, not a huge surprise to me. I think we've always been quite high on the pedigree that ASAP's able to bring to the table. So he's really impressive, and I'm glad to see he's been able to have a pretty solid event there. So for me, those 2 kind of stood out. Beyond that, obviously really quite solid T sides, which is, you know, quite cool to see from a team going overseas for the first time. But fuck me, those CT sides really did let them down, especially on Inferno. They need to sort those out. So I don't know if maybe it's a situation, Bleh, where they need to like find a coach or something like that. Like I think they had JHC sitting behind them, but like let's be real, like let's get a coach, maybe even an international coach, someone from like tier 2 Europe or something like that. Could do a lot for a team like that. The skill is there. It's very much evident that the skill is there.
I don't know how much he's doing as a coach because they called 0 timeouts.
I'm sure he's not doing a whole lot as a coach.
That's Rooster, you know.
I know it's a meme. It's like they've never called a timeout in 2 years.
They
I think
don't
it's what Mac. But listen, man, you're 12-3 up in Inferno. You're about to take down the 00 Nation, right? Who eventually wound up qualifying for the playoffs. By the way, they just took out NIP a few hours ago, right? It just boggles my mind. Like, even if you're not going to be talking anything, you know, tactical, you listen. This team, they're on a streak right now. They're coming back. They're grinding back into it. They're on this little bit of momentum drive. Fuck it. Use all 4 of your tag timeouts just to like calm things down. Make sure they just kind of just wait for a little bit. I don't care. Like, these are the small little things you kind of expect them to do. And yeah, that's kind of rough. CD side, one player kind of disappointed a little bit on the CD side was Chelios. No, he's an IGL AWP or whatnot, but I feel like as a primary AWPer on the CD side, you kind of expect him to do a little bit more. He was the lowest rated player for them when it comes to the CT side, especially as a primary AWPer. That's kind of rough, right? That has to play, obviously calling, IGLing, especially in a high pressure, his biggest event ever, not just his, but the team, it's not going to be easy. That being said, I did like what I saw from them against 00 Nation, right? Apart from that choke on Inferno, it felt like they kind of grew into the tournament, right? Facing off FaZe in the first game, it's never going to be easy, but you get it out of the way. You got fisted, you got fucked. Now you're like, all right, I'm fine now. It's okay, right? It happens, and they were able to kind of, I wouldn't say reset, but kind of get a little bit better. A few promising signs against Pain on Anubis. I do believe that was their map pick as well. And then finally against 00 Nation, just literally 2 rounds away from knocking out 00 Nation. I think that would have been a massive dub. I'm not going to be too harsh on them. I think the one good thing is I finally got to see their faces. I know what they look like now. You know, I don't see any photos of them anywhere, no interviews, anything. But all in all, I think they did as expected. In fact, I feel like they did a little bit more than expected, right? The fact that they're almost able to knock out 00 Nation, I think, was something no one saw coming. But yeah, if I'm Rooster, you kind of feel pretty happy with that. A lot of lessons to be learned. And yes, a coach who would be able to call the tag timeout when needed would be ideal.
What do you think, Pilski? Were you expecting more from Rooster going overseas?
The thing is, like, at least for Rooster, what I was happy to see is that we saw these guys and how much individual skill and talent they had, at least domestically in the region, for such a long time. Even before some of the players were banned, they were even pushing like our best teams. They were pushing like Grayhound when they were qualifying for stuff, and sometimes upsetting some of the teams. And I think in Oceania for the longest time, we've kind of been recycling a lot of players, like less so in the last few years, but before, going back to like 2019 and before, you'd definitely be recycling a lot of the same kind of players. And then they'd just be kind of decent overseas or average, but there wasn't a lot of like potential for them to improve a lot. I think Rooster's kind of the opposite of that. They lack the experience, but they have so much individual skill and firepower that we've seen domestically in the region. And it's so good to see them go and play some of the best players in the world. And, even if they do get fisted 16-6, they have like a round where you're like, oh shit, like ASAP just got a 3K so fast, like, and just one bead, like some of the best players in the world, or Netix, like able to multi-frag. And those are the kind of things that make you feel good. Like it's a promising sign. I think at the same time though, I didn't know how to feel about this group. Like this group was kind of fucking all over the place. Like 0-0 Nation, weren't they playing with like a stand-in or something? And some of the games.
And that's a rough thing, right? So you have 00 Nation, you have Pain, both of them playing with stand-ins, right? You have NIP with the conflict just coming on in.
Yeah.
Kind of a stand-in situation. Vitality with a stand. We're at a ZywOo with a stand-in right there as well in the form of Jack. So if you look at it, the two Aussie teams and FaZe were half teams. These were the guys who didn't have any stand-in. They came with a full lineup. So real possibilities of some big upsets there, which unfortunately for Rooster didn't take place.
I mean, I hate to be the pessimist, but in comparison to what we see at a lot of other international events, I'd love to be the Aussie guy that's like, yeah, up the boys, fuck yeah, like they're the best. But like, this is a pretty weak group for an international event. You have so many teams that are dysfunctional and so many teams with problems, and you see that in the consistency of the results. Like there was games where 0-0 Nation looked like pretty questionable, and then they end up beating NIP, and NIP are like losing to teams that the core of that team would never fucking lose to. Like last year, I remember watching the core of this team be like one of the best teams in the world, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, so I don't know what to think about some of these results, but at least for Rooster, I think, they just need a little bit more experience. They need to iron out these issues. Some of those, like you said, the CT sides and the decisions that they would make, super questionable that they just get away with in Oz. Because some of those players, I feel like people are scared. Like I used to be scared to play against Chelios when I was competing. Like that dude, like you literally used to fist me all the time. And going to what Blair was saying about like, him not playing super well. I actually think for the last year or two, I can't remember exactly what the timeline is. I don't think Chelios is in his best form. Nowhere near what his best form is. Like a few years ago, he used to be fucking insane. And I feel like he hasn't been on that level for a while. Maybe he's kind of more sort of leaning towards the IGLing a little bit. So if he's able to hit his skill ceiling, this team gets like 10 times more scary, especially if it's like overseas. But more so, I'm super happy that the rifling core, like I said, was just able to showcase their individual skill. And I'm hoping that either this team sticks together in some iteration and is going to continue to try to fight for these overseas spots. Because I think that I've always, honestly, I don't know, Jordan, you could disagree, but I've always thought this team could definitely beat Greyhound and could upset and some of the teams domestically.
I'll let you in on a little secret, a little spoiler, because I obviously hang out with MC a lot, right? We play a bit of Rust, we play whatever. He's Rooster #1 fan, and every time, we're watching a game, he's like, oh, Rooster can beat Greyhound, or I message him like, who's gonna win this game or something. He's like, Rooster every time. He's Rooster #1 fan. So he keeps telling me this team's really good. They play a better style for going overseas than some of the other Aussie teams. So I've had that being fed into my head for the last 2 years probably. I don't know that I necessarily subscribe to the belief, but that they are going to be better than Greyhound or whatever. But I definitely agree that there is a lot of potential there with this team. I think for me, this Rooster roster is the most exciting team coming out of ANZ in the last 3-4 years. And obviously, that disregards Greyhound because they were kind of a thing before then. But they're the one that I sort of go, oh, you know what? They are the only team right now that I think is consisting of players that haven't kind of already had their chance. And so when I see them go and play overseas, I'm like, all right, I'm prepared to give them the benefit of the doubt. In a world where maybe I would say for like someone like Greyhound, like, you kind of have to perform to a certain level. I don't have any expectations like that yet for Rooster. So whatever happens, and I'm kind of happy. I'm really happy with what I saw from them at Pro League. But, obviously next time they go overseas, my expectations are going to be a little bit higher. So we'll see what they can do next time. I think that's going to be the takeaway for me.
I think seeing like Vexside as well, and then seeing Rooster in this event, it's kind of like, this is like the next generation of like Aussie talent. And I think that we really need to get around these kind of players, because for anyone that's not familiar with our domestic scene, like it's not just Rooster. Like there are other players in odds that are like individually skilled like this or are solid riflers, and they're not really getting a proper crack because, you know, at the end of the day, for a lot of these international events, it's like one spot, two spots is super generous for a lot of these kind of events. You just don't get to see a lot of these players, and you don't see them maybe practice as much as they could to reach their skill ceiling or reach their potential or have some of these international opportunities. So I think seeing a team like Rooster is a perfect example of just what Oz talent has to showcase. And I hope that they keep improving. But unfortunately, like I said, this is a bit of a weaker international event group. And the more likely thing that I've seen happen almost every year is that, you know, you get some promise from some of these teams and then things don't really go anywhere.
Maybe, but it's a good week at least for Australian Counter-Strike, in my opinion. You know, it's nice to have one of those weeks where you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe things are looking up. And what I will say before we jump into the Greyhound conversation is that the other team that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing is Vertex. Like, obviously, they're going to be playing at the minor. I think.
Well, Addict's another one of those players.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and PZ, perfect example.
You've had your run from Malta in Renegades and Hazard in the Encore, Avant-Gardes, whatever. So those two players, I think, like, okay, we've seen some level of international exposure for them, but for Brace, PZ, and Addict, I think there's still, you know, some legs potentially, and I'm quite interested to see what they can do at the minor, although I think that's going to be a tough ask for them. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So let's move on to Greyhound. Now, geez, I got to say, like, I'm so happy to see Greyhound actually having some wins under their belt, because I was watching them at Katowice, and I remember that interview that Liaz did after they got knocked out with Kassad and Yanko and Stunner, I think it was, and man, that was like a painful interview to watch. I think I've never seen someone on an interview just look more like, I don't know how to describe it, right? But like melancholy. It was like, you know, this is just the situation and there's like nothing we can do about it. And I saw that and I was like, apathy. Maybe it was apathy was kind of like the way I would describe it, was that it was like he was so apathetic toward the result that it was like, it just seemed like there was nothing they could do about it. And I was like, fuck, this team could, you know, if that's like what's affecting this team, and they come into these events and they're like, it just seemed like the whole, I don't know how to say it, but like the confidence was fucking broken. It was just gone. Like the team was broken. And I thought, yeah, this could be not the end of the team necessarily, but like if more results continue to go in that fashion, then it was definitely not looking good. You know, he was saying things like they were just playing like trash. They didn't have a boot camp. They weren't comming enough, comming too much sometimes, fucking up strats. And he like ended the interview by basically saying like that it was just shit. Like that was how it ended. And I was like, fucking hell, that doesn't sound good at all. So I have to say my expectation actually coming into ESL Pro League was quite low. I was feeling like this was not looking too good for Greyhound, but hey, they came in and they played way above what we've seen from them, I think, for probably the last, like, I don't know how long, like 12, 18 months. It feels like the best performance we've seen from Greyhound internationally in a long while. So I don't know how you guys want to go through this. I mean, I'll just quickly read off the results. They lost to Vitality 2-0, but they beat OO Nation. I thought Vexite had a really good series there, and that was where I started to go, you know what, maybe there's something there, right? Because that was like first time Greyhound's kind of gone overseas and actually won a series. You know, you got the new young guy kind of having some good results as an individual as well. It seemed like the pieces of the puzzle were kind of falling into place. Then they go on to beat NIP after losing map 116-2, and I think, okay, now there's like a bit of mental fortitude there as well. So the confidence is coming back, the mental is coming back. I think that's kind of like almost the biggest result that this roster has had since they've been called Greyhound again. I had a quick look back. I didn't really do too much digging, but I actually don't think they've had a bigger scalp since they actually left Renegades, which is quite a long time ago now. And then obviously, as we know this morning, they did lose to OO Nation. They also lost to Pain, I think, yesterday. So both of those results I thought were kind of disappointing. But like, you know, you still sort of saw flashes of hope and something there. So to me, you know, even though they didn't make it through, and I think there was definitely still a lot for them to kind of work on. I think that much was highlighted by the losses that they suffered over the last couple of days. I'm way more positive on Greyhound now than I was prior to this event. So the last week has been quite eye-opening for me, and I'm quite excited to see what they can do at the minor again this time. So maybe I'll let you talk about this one, Bleh, because you know. Pilski had his piece there for Rooster for a little while. So what do you think about Greyhound and how they went?
Look, the easy answer, I mean, the easiest statement for me to make would be like, oh yeah, they did a great job and everything. But I'm actually disappointed. I feel like we saw enough from them to like look at the scalps they took, right? You rattled out a couple of names. So NIP, the biggest scalp they've taken in a while, and it was pretty fucking convincing. They got destroyed on Ancient 16-2, and then it bounced back 16-9, 16-12 are pretty convincing scorelines. If you ask me, they're taking on NIP, and then against Pain, again, the fashion in which it lost 16-12, 16-12, two of the maps, Anubis and Nuke, and then the final map against Double O Nation, which they should have 2-0'd, right? Inferno was there for the taking. They're looking solid there, allowing Double O Nation back into the game. And of course, that is after the fact that they also won on Ancient pretty convincingly, right? So they should have been a much better result. I feel like if they face off against NIP again, if they beat I think it was Double O Nation, they would have faced off against NIP or even Pain for that matter, and I feel like they would have had the edge. NIP looked very, very, very mediocre right now, in all honesty. In fact, I mentioned this on HLTV confirmed just a week prior, saying that if NIP don't make it out of the group stage, it's a massive, massive fail for them, and they've done that. Somehow they managed to completely just shit the bed, right? So I feel like Greyhound will be disappointed, and I say that because you look at the players they have. Inns was performing great. I think he was like a standout player for me overall. Vertex, like you pointed out as well, is showing that he has the chops to hang with some of the big boys out there, considering how young he is as well. But just a small little, I don't know, like a failure in communication, maybe the body language. Is that X factor? It's like you don't know what really went wrong. But you saw that take place in a couple of maps here and there. And considering some of the scouts they've taken, I'm going to be a little bit more harsher to them than I would to Rooster, for whom, almost all of them, this is their first big event. For Greyhound, if you look at the core of this team and the sort of players they have and the sort of like legacy they have, that they should have been able to come out of this group, if you ask me. They were kind of like my dark horse to make it out of the group, considering, as we said, it's a very scuffed group, a lot of stand-ins and whatnot. You're coming in a full force. You've been practicing for this all this while. Yeah, and you show that you can do it, and the very last hurdle you fail. And I feel like, I've seen this story play out again and again and again and again, not just for Greyhound or Renegades or whatever, but like for the entirety of APAC Counter-Strike, right? Where you have such an easy path now, it's laid out, you're almost there, just making the playoffs would be fucking ideal, and then you fail at the very last hurdle. I've seen this for too many years, man. We've all seen this for too many years for me to be like, nah, it's okay, they'll come back stronger. Nah, I feel they should have made it. I'm disappointed. I'll just say it.
Fair enough. Pilski.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he took the words out of my mouth. It's like, it's nice to see them have good maps, man, but like Greyhound are just like so inconsistent. It's like their map pool is just not there. They can only win on like a couple of maps in the pool versus like international competition. You've seen the core of this team for such a long time, and like you just got to tell it how it is, because it's not the same as it is in other scenes. It's that we have a domestic scene that incentivizes you not to make roster changes and to maintain the status quo and just be good enough to qualify. And as long as you're good enough to qualify, you keep going to all these events and keep trying to improve. But like, again, it's like it's the same story over and over again, where they're not able to make playoffs of events. The standard for excellence in Australian Counter-Strike is trying to get an upset or trying to get a map win, or, oh, that was a good round, boys. It's not, you're not getting the actual results on paper, and they don't want to change. I'd assume they don't want to change roster because they're still the best team in the domestic scene. It's going to take somebody actually knocking them off that top pedestal for them to make roster changes, unless they're literally like the no-brainer move, like picking up Vexite. Like there's no fucking reason you shouldn't do it. So I feel like I've wanted to see roster changes in Greyhound for a while, to be honest, especially with how much talent there is in the Australian scene. Picking up Vexite has already worked so well for them. You don't want to kind of rock the boat too much. So maybe it's going to be like a gradual thing, but I'd love to see them pick up another different player, give someone else a crack, to be honest. And maybe that might push them over the top, because it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like too much mediocrity at the end of the day. Like, they're a good team. They're by far the best and the highest achieving Australian Counter-Strike team of the last couple of years. You can't take that away from them. But at the end of the day, when it comes to international tournaments, they're not doing so well, which, like, that's normal for Australian teams. So maybe I'm being too pessimistic, or maybe I'm wanting wanting more.
wanting
But
more.
I just want an Aussie team that can actually do damage at international events, and Greyhound are just not that. And I can't remember the last time they were that. Maybe when they were like getting those liquid upsets with the old roster and stuff like that. Maybe that's when I actually felt. And they had Dexter. I feel like since Dexter, yeah, it hasn't been. We haven't had a team like that, to be honest.
Do you feel this is what Pilski, by the way, like looking at the RMR, right? I still put IHC up there as one of the favorites to make it out, like they'll get the 2 slots. And look at sure, Ty Lue have looked a little up and down. They've been boot camping for a while. They come back, play domestically.
What is even going on in Thailand?
I have no
It's a
fucking idea what's
mess.
happening there. It's like they can
Don't
beat
even-
anyone and lose to anyone on just like in a
What
span
the
of a couple
fuck
of
is
hours.
that?
You have Rare Adam still doing the Rare Adam things. You have Invictus coming in. You have the Twisted Minds that mix it, Black Eagle, Doc, and all these guys. You have Vertex. You have Eruption. You can never count them out as well. I don't know. Like I can see a world where Greyhound don't make it out, even though logic would dictate that it has to be Greyhound and
Well-
IHC to kind of make it out, if you ask me. But I'm not certain.
If you remember the last RMR, I don't know if you watched that, Blair, but there was that Rare Adam game, the Melbourne one, where they
classic
should
Advent
not have
moment.
fucking won that game.
There
They
was
should
an
not have
Advent
fucking
moment.
won that game at all.
Yeah.
Advent
I didn't
literally
see
threw
that
that game.
Oh, bro.
Oh, that was. I mean, it's not like they dominate the RMRs, bro. Like IHC fists the RMRs. They're like 2-0ing all
Oh,
these
yeah, yeah. They
motherfuckers.
just
they're
fucking
like
farm
yeah,
them.
easy. Greyhound do not destroy people in RMRs. They're like barely scraping through the RMRs. There's games where like I think they're definitely gonna fucking lose sometimes when I watch them play. So totally with you. I'm waiting. I've been waiting for that one RMR where finally they do actually manage to fuck it up, because like it's scary every fucking time, bro. I don't know.
And,
It's never
and
easy.
scary thing this time is because it's 8 teams, right? It's no longer like, oh, you have like one Mongolian team, you have to only worry about like, one Chinese team, right? No, you got Tai Lu and Rare Adam now. And listen, Tai Lu have been fucking garbage for a while, but it's still fucking
still
Tai
Tai
Lu.
Lu, yeah.
It's still a fucking RMR. You never know. Danking might just wake up one day, just smack you on the ground. That can happen anytime to anyone. And then you have like a Rare Adam as well at the same time. Then you have like 2 Middle Eastern teams coming in, right? These pug mixes, so to speak. The Invictus lineup as well can be dangerous. These are guys who play against EU, scrim with EU teams quite often. And then, of course, you have the 2 Mongolian teams, not just IHC. It is not going to be easy this time for Greyhound. If they slip up again, I agree. I feel like some other team could just take the spot.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 14-1 last time. Like that game that they beat Rare Adam in that I thought they definitely could have lost was a upper bracket, like opening round game. So they wouldn't have been knocked out of the tournament. Rare Adam
Yeah, but
actually
it's
got
a
knocked out
different
by
tournament.
GG Howe.
It's a different
Yeah, I
tournament.
know. That's why I agree with what Blair's saying. It's like now it's double elim with 8 teams, and it's like the potential for running into a scary team is more than before, because last time all they had to do was just beat GG Howe, where it's like they beat Rare Adam, but they would have had to do that either way. But because they beat Rare Adam got upset by GG Howe, and then they only had to beat GG Howe International to qualify for a major. And it's like this time you're going to have to beat a Mongolian team. You're going to have to beat fucking Tai Lu or something, who are just a fucking wild card. Like they might just roll out on the day.
All right.
So
Let's not go too deep down this rabbit hole, because again,
I
think
know.
we've got a good hour and a half worth of content if we really want it for another episode here. What I want to do is I want to get someone from the Middle Eastern region. I don't know if maybe we can get on the bell with Tox. I think he's doing a bit of casting and stuff.
We could
I don't know.
get Tox, I guess.
We'll see if he's interested, and we'll do our separate power rankings and then combine them and see how it all sort of plays. I think that'll be fun. But anyway, that's something to look forward to. Look, all I'll say to close out the Greyhound discussion is, at the very least, I'm going to choose to take a positive approach to this one, because it is a positive result compared to what we've seen. So things are looking better. They seem to be more confident. They don't come out of this event going, oh, fuck, that was shit. We just sucked, blah, blah, blah. You saw Vexite I thought this was his first time overseas having a really good sort of performance. Like I think when they were over at Katowice, he was sort of like middling, whatever. But here I actually kind of saw those glimpses of what we get here in ANZ. Ali was kind of hit and miss, but he definitely had his maps as well. And he's kind of like that X Factor player where sometimes he's going to win the map for you. Sometimes he's going to lose the map for you. The other 3 I thought were pretty consistent. So, I'm choosing to be positive. And I think as well, the event that they're going to play next, which is the minor, is not going to be as difficult as ESL Pro League. So I don't know. I feel like I'm still thinking positive about them. Anyway, let's move
At
on
least
from
won
that.
some series.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll take it. We'll take it at this point. Moving on, and talking about roster changes, far out. Azza to Sprout. This was one that just kind of came out of absolutely nowhere. I did not expect this one at all. For those that don't know, for those that are not kind of keeping up with ANZ Counter-Strike, like he was playing in that Encore roster for a little bit, both Azza and Gratisfaction, but the results were a little bit disappointing, actually, all things considered. I thought Azza as an individual looked quite good. We kept saying when we were casting those games, like, oh man, this guy's like slapping.
He was fisting. He's like, when he plays in Europe, it's like, he's like, okay. But then he comes back to ANZ and he's like double entering bomb sites, like insta headshots. And it's like, oh shit, wait. Yeah, he's actually this good.
Yeah. But the results themselves as a team were not good. And there's still a lot going on with that Encore roster. I'm not really sure what is happening there. But I did read on play.gg in one of their articles that it's like been apparently 510 days since he played in a top team. So that's been like a very long time. First of all, I have to ask, did anyone expect to see Azza back?
Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, saw him going straight to Sprout. That was the first name that I thought of.
Not even Sprout. I just mean just in general in like another European team. Like, did you think there was a world where he gets out of Oz again?
Dude, didn't he? He's been, well, at least more recently after he left like the tier 1 team. Like, wasn't he rumored to go to a bunch of teams, Blair? Or there was always people saying, why don't these guys get Azza or whatever?
It's most of like people saying, hey, whatever happened to Azza, right? Well, whatever happened to that guy? Like he's in, he's IGL, he has top tier experience, he's had crazy deep run through his teams. But I'm gonna actually echo what Sponge said on the HLTV Confirmed podcast. It was like he thought that was it for Oz's career, right? And you can't really be surprised. It felt like it was just going to be Australia was going to be his retirement home. It's just going to be playing a few teams here and there, and they're going to be seeing a post from him like we saw from Rickett, where it's going to be like, well, it was a fun ride, boys, but I'm out of here.
It's happened to too many players from our region, to be quite honest. You see them come back,
it's
and
happened
they
to
just
so many players, man. So many players, and it's so sad. But it's a second lease on life for Ozza, right? And I think the couple of things that play into this. Firstly, being the Sprout IGL situation, it has been very wonky. I spoke to Refresh. I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this in a couple of other podcasts as well, where it's like I spoke to Refresh at the major after Sprout got knocked out, where no one expected him to make it to the major, right? But they still did a pretty decent run. I was talking to him about his IGLing duties. It's like it's really fucking hard. All the players are super young. There's a lot of like things you have to deal with. It's not just about in-game for him. It's more like outside the game when it comes to communication. And he comes from the heroic school of IGLing, where everyone, like if anyone watches heroic, the one primary reason that style of Counter-Strike works is because of the comms. And that's not hyperbole, right? Everyone needs to be on the same page. I know it's said time and time again, but more so for heroic. And he was trying to, I think, kind of maybe not replicate it, to try and take a few things from that team with what Cadian instilled in that team into Sprout. Didn't quite pan out. Then we saw them pick up Maze for 2-3 days or something, and they're like, "Yeah, you're not calling, boy," and he's out of there as well. And then it's like when Refresh gets benched or benches himself, then like Sk0r comes back or whatever. It's been a fucking shit show in Sprout. But that being said, they're all young players. You look at the individuals, you look at players like I've always liked Zyphon. I like what he does, when it comes to his rifling skills and aggro entry and whatnot. You have Sk0r, we know what he can do. Then you have Longs and Zello. So I think it comes down to the desperation in finding an IGL, and not just an IGL from, let's say, an academy team who knows how to, call games or just be like, all right, guys, we're going to be running this strat for this round or whatever. It's more like you need an IGL. Also, you need someone who has the authority, the experience, who's played against some of the best in the world to kind of be the pillar for the teams, the mental pillar, the soul of the team. And I feel Ozza would fit the bill. He said in an interview as well, I was taking a look at it, Jordan, and he mentioned like how he is not really quite up to the meta right now, right? But it is something you can easily catch up on. They have Barry as well. Can't forget as the coach, a long-standing coach right there. He's going to obviously work with Ozza to bring him up to speed and kind of figure out how the current meta is in EU. He's got the right pieces. What he brings is that experience, right? What it brings is that veterancy, which is very, very lacking. And if you have any level of veterancy and leadership skills in Europe right now, you're getting snapped up. You're getting snapped up by some team out there. So I feel I wouldn't necessarily call it desperation. I feel like it's more like the stars kind of aligned for Ozza. Sprout needed someone like that, and everyone's like, hey, what about that Ozza guy? He's in Australia right now. Let's get him back. So happy for him. Also curious to see how this one's going to pan out. I don't expect them to do anything in this major cycle, but hopefully, and I hope they don't make too many crazy changes. But it's going to take a while. But hopefully by the latter half of this year is when I expect to see some results, or rather see if they've done anything with this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the one thing that I'll say is that obviously we always knew within the Australian scene, at least, that the time on Encore was always like a bit of a temporary thing. It was never him saying, I am joining Encore. I think both he and Gratisfaction always had this like step back from it that was like, hey, we're playing for Encore, but like,
yeah, we're just playing.
We're just playing. You know, this does not represent us as players. I think, especially in Az's case, he would very much hope that those results did not represent him as a player, because they were not very good, even within a domestic sense. So he'd like to forget about that, I'm sure, and move on, and clearly has. The other thing is, like, I think he's got a partner over somewhere in Belgium or Denmark or something like that, his girlfriend. So probably wanted to go back to Europe as quickly as he could. So that's good for him. I look forward to it, and I agree with you, but I don't think this is going to be like an instant fix. In fact, you know, based on the results that we've seen so far, they didn't qualify for ESL Challenger. Sorry, they finished last place in ESL Challenger Europe, and then they also missed out on qualifying for Challenger Melbourne, which I was a bit sad about. I thought, you know, Sprout Challenger, go back to DreamHack Melbourne. Az's return, you know, that would be pretty sick. Like, there's another storyline. I was kind of hoping to see Dexter there last year, but I think they'd already qualified to Pro League or something. They didn't need to play in Challenger to qual through. But anyway, it doesn't look like that's going to happen for Azza either. So, end of the day, you know, the results so far haven't been good. But Pilski, this is what I wanted to ask: is what do you think is like actually the pass mark? Like, what's the bar that they have to hit for this to be like, all right, that was pretty good, right? You know, I think the Sprout core was like at one point just inside the top 20. So that's probably where we want to see them get again.
I mean, Sprout did the classic of like, they went to like the major and actually put some results together. And then they were like in this like small pond kind of thing. And then they got thrown back into the ocean that is like tier 2, tier 3 European Counter-Strike. And they were like, oh, fuck, like all of these teams want to beat us. And it's like very, very hard to play like these online qualifiers and these online events and stuff. You're just playing so many like quality players and quality teams. And I feel like their results kind of took a downward trend after that. So yeah, I mean, just looking at it feels like they've just been struggling in all of these qualifiers and all of these like tier 2, tier 3 European events. Like, they're not getting very many wins on the board. They're losing to a lot of different teams. So I guess their goal is just to try to get back to the like tier 1 events, pretty much, like not fail in these qualifiers. But that's a brutal grind to get through. And I don't know, is Azza going to be enough to get them to do that? Because I think about that Extremum team. I mean, I guess he's got more talent now, and he's got a European coach. I mean, so did Extremum, to be fair, but like it just reminds me, him joining this team reminds me of that Extremum time where they were grinding in Europe and they just could not win an online EUCS, and Sprout can't do that right now. So is adding Azza going to fix that? I honestly don't know.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. And so that's something that we'll keep an eye on. I think we should move on, though, because we've got a couple of other interesting topics to discuss. I think this is the one that maybe a lot of people would be waiting to hear us talk about. Obviously, Counter-Strike 2, Source 2, whatever you want to call it, and Asian Counter-Strike. So what does that mean for the region? What do we think it means for the region? I'll start off by saying that, like I said a little bit earlier in the intro to the show, I'm kind of feeling like there's some rumblings happening again within the Asian scene, right? We've got Dust2 India. I don't know what that's going to really mean, but someone's looking at the region again.
We can talk about, I think we can talk about those two together, right? Like,
CS, it's a bit of a, it kind of groups together. Why don't we start with the India topic? Because that's like, I feel like a smaller piece of the puzzle. And I don't know that this has had really much coverage or much discussion, but actually the tweet that they put out, I think it was Dust2 NA put out the tweet and said Dust2 India is like, we're looking at it, right? So they're kind of saying, oh, maybe this is going to be a thing. So from what I could see, and I looked at that initially and I was like, what is even the point of this? Like, let's be real, like, Indian CS is dead. Does anyone care? You know, maybe like a couple of people, but the reality is I don't see that region being revived. But basically, what it seems like to me, and I've never really kept up with Dust 2 or any of that shit, because it's like, it's North America, whatever, I don't care. But they have like a bunch of other ones as well. I think they have like a Danish one or something like that as well. And so
Dust 2 DK, yeah.
Yeah, and what I read on their they had like an application form that you could fill out if you wanted to be involved, which is until the April 10th, by the way. So if you're interested,
Did you get yours in, Blair?
What they wrote on there was, we create things based on the national needs. In Denmark, we had no well-driven league, so we decided to create one. And today we run the absolute best Danish CSGO league with 138 participating teams each season. So, like, are they trying to come into the Indian CS scene, or the Indian scene, if there is a CS scene still, and like run tournaments and make it a thing again? Like, is that what they're saying?
Okay, so from my I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I mean, I didn't sign an NDA or anything like this. I had a chat with. I was directed one of the. So Dust 2 is kind of like I'd say like a sister company of HLTV.
It's like a national
kind of like
focused HLTV.
Yes. So it's like Dust 2 DK was the main thing, right? That's like the Danish scene altogether. We know how good Denmark's doing overall. Then they created Dust2.in, where they picked up Ryan. Shout out Ryan right NA, there, and he's NA for NA, right? So he's covering NA and maybe South America. Then you have the South American one, that's Dust2.br, right, which is covered by Roque. So they're trying to do this like regional thing, which I think is very cool. HLTV obviously covers the entire world. It has a more generic focus, but then if you look at smaller regions where you don't have coverage, sites like this really help out. Like, for example, one of the biggest issues Asia had back when people used to play more Counter-Strike here would be the fact that a lot of the tournaments weren't being covered by HLTV, and understandably so, right? But then you have like a smaller, sister site, which is focused in that one region. It does help with the coverage, does help really kind of grow the region. So I had a chat with them, and they were like, okay, listen, we're planning to do Dust2.in. What are your thoughts? And me being the eternal optimist I was like, don't do it. It's not going to happen. Like, in India, especially when it comes to Counter-Strike, has been a bit of a struggle city. It's not like people don't play CS. Now, you see some of these, comments on YouTube or on Reddit, and it's like, yeah, I'm Indian, I play matchmaking, there's no one there, it's empty. Like, listen, stop fucking lying. Ever since I've been home, I've been literally just fucking playing matchmaking, and just fucking around a few of my friends. And it's full all the time. There are a lot of people playing. A lot of people do play. It's just that the small little professional scene we had have moved on to Valorant for obvious reasons. It was much more, Riot was, giving more focus, so they moved on. Makes complete sense. Are there people who still play Counter-Strike? Absolutely, man. Like, there's people, a shit ton of people still play CS. But for a lot of TOs as well, it made business sense to move over to Valorant. And of course, you have PUBG Mobile, you have Free Fire and everything. Now, let me tell you about India, what's happening right now. Very, very quickly. Free Fire got banned. PUBG Mobile got banned by the Indian government. For whatever reasons, let's not get into that. So the TO is like, oh shit, what can we do? All right, let's do Valorant. Obviously, right now with Riot doing the regional thingy, I think only one TO right now in India has the right to do that thing. Yep. So even the Valorant events have kind of dried up a little bit right now. What other game is out there where the publisher doesn't give a shit about whether you do it or not? Let me think here. Counter-Strike, maybe, right? So if you look at it, it kind of makes sense. People still would play it if there are tournaments out there and people are pushing for it. So what Dust2 are trying to do here with the Indian thing, which is what now that I kind of understand what they're trying to do here, I'm all for it. There's nothing much to lose. It's a cheap market, right? Investment's not going to be too much. Everything is kind of way more cheaper in Asia compared to, let's say, in Europe or whatever. With a little bit of investment, maybe tying with some local partners. Start hosting a league. Once upon a time, we used to have the ESL India Premiership, like you have the UK Premiership, like you have the ANZ and whatnot. And you have all these teams play regularly throughout the season, and it used to end in the LAN finals or whatever. Have an online league, maybe tie up with Faceit, ESL. I don't know. I don't care. But if they're able to start doing this from the ground up, there will be people who will play. And most of these players are going to be people you probably don't even know about. And maybe, now tying into the Source 2 thing, which, once I saw Richard Lewis's article, I'm like, yeah, this seems like a done deal. Especially if Richard Lewis is going to put a stamp of authority on that, right? So if that's going to happen at the same time, so you have the simultaneous like boost when it comes to the hype, oh shit, Source 2 coming out with CS, maybe an upgraded matchmaking system perhaps, and then you have Dust 2 kind of, focusing on this thing. I don't see a downside to it. If it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. But if this leads to like, some newer players I've never heard of, I've never seen before coming out of the woodwork and, starting to do something. And sure, I'm not expecting anyone to be like a top 50 team in a span of a year. But if we're able to like start growing it organically, and if that leads to, and at least based on the business model, it looks like they might be doing, let's say, a Dust2.vn in Vietnam. I know a lot of Vietnamese players still play Counter-Strike. I'm looking at my Steam friends list. A lot of Vietnamese guys are still playing CS on the daily. And then maybe a Dust2.mn for Mongolia, perhaps, right?
So
I don't see anything wrong with this.
Here's the thing. Like now that you've told us the way that it is supposed to play out, and given us that insight. I mean, maybe that puts a bit of a dampener on my initial thought. But what my initial thought was when I saw this was like, why don't they just absorb CS:GO to Asia and like make it Dust2.Asia or something like that? Because I don't know if many people are aware, but obviously earlier on this year, actually in January, it was kind of like, all right, CS:GO to Asia is kind of closing doors. And I think that was, I mean, they were on live support for a little while. It was pretty obvious that Impulse, which is like the parent company of PaperX, Valor to Asia, CS:GO to Asia, were very much, over on the Valorant side of the coin. They own PaperX, team's going really well. Valor to Asia's going better. Valorant's popping off. They're having a lot of success there. So whatever, port your business over there. But it meant more or less that CS:GO to Asia which was already dying. Like there was like one guy doing doing all the articles. I think Juan Dai or something was his name, Juan D.
Yep.
So he was kind of keeping it going for a while. But end of the day, right? It's like it can't be a one-man army. We'd stopped doing the podcast. There didn't seem to be that many Asia tournaments. There wasn't that much interest. Fair enough. 100% see that. But with this in mind, if HLTV or Dust2, whatever, wants to have a crack into that market, would it not have made more sense to maybe absorb something
disagree.
that was already there?
I disagree there because, like, if you're Dust2, firstly, they have, like, obviously, they're not like a brand new startup, right? They've done this in the past as well. The one thing they did with, like, for example, let's look at, like, Dust2 NA, with that Ryan, who was, he had that, whatever side he had. I forgot the name of the side.
BRM or something?
BRM.
Wasn't that his?
Yeah, whatever.
Ryan at BRM.
Ryan at BRM, right? And
RBM,
what
RBM,
RBM, yes, Rush
B.
Media, right? And what it was doing, there was like giving an opportunity for a lot of writers to write on the site. So when they finally hired Ryan, he did get a lot of his people that he who worked not for free, but who were writing articles just to try and get used to the work. And he actually hired them, if I'm not mistaken, for the Dust2 site, and they're doing fine. They're doing that. They have their own approach to news articles, much more memey, much more funnier, much more edgier, much more clickbaity than HLTV, for example. And it works for them, right? For CS:GO to Asia, like you said, sure, it's owned by the guys behind PaperX, but you can clearly see that they pulled the plug officially as well a few months ago, and then you had just one writer. Why do you want to do that instead when you can just start something afresh? What are you getting out of it? One writer, right? And also you might have to do a rebrand and everything. Instead, you already have a brand which is ongoing with this Dust2, US, Dust2 BR, whatnot. So if I was Dust2, I just go and try. If CS:GO to Asia was still functioning, if it still had a functioning, a decent staff to work with, a chief editor who was still pushing out content and whatnot, then maybe I'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. But for them to just start from scratch, I feel like would be the easier route. And I have to agree with that.
I mean, look, it was an idea that I had when I initially read that obviously I didn't have all the context that you've now given. So I can, kind of see why they wouldn't go for that. But I mean, I still have this in my head that, like, I think it's, on one hand, it's beneficial to focus on these specific subregions, but I also would have kind of liked to see just a general Asia thing. But if they're going to go into, like, as you say, maybe Vietnam or whatever, maybe it can work. Maybe that's something cool. And I don't know. We'll have to see. Do you have anything you want to say, Pilski? I mean, it's not really our region, so there's not much.
Only two things. I wouldn't mind seeing a general Asia thing. And I think that combining a bunch of smaller markets makes more sense. And why would you focus on a market that's not active?
Well, I mean,
when
the thing is,
like two that are thriving and kind of active.
India has a fuck ton of people. Okay, so that's the one reason why, if you're going to go into this region and you want to give it a try, why not choose the biggest country in the world?
Right. Okay, sure. I mean, yeah. That's like writing a marketing report for your business degree and saying India has a population of 1 billion, so therefore my product's going to do super good. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. But
Listen, mate,
the other
not
thing
all of
that I
us are
wanted to
smart like
say,
you.
the other thing that I wanted to say is, yeah, like it's the same thing for a lot of the other Asian regions. Like Valorant is killing it in India at the moment. There's literally Oceanic players, Valorant players who are playing in the Indian scene, and are going to go play in the Indian league because the league is better than what we have in Oz. And every time that I think at the end of the day, and this is a reason why we stopped doing the podcast, is that we talk about this kind of stuff. And for me, at the end of the day, looking at things like this is I just inherently come back to Valorant versus Counter-Strike, and are they going to be able to do better than what Valorant's doing? Because Valorant just came in and did a decent job, and even in some of the sub-regions did a pretty good job, honestly. That Counter-Strike wasn't doing well enough. And I think India, like I've seen some stuff for the league that they've got coming up. I think like Nodwin's doing it or something like that, and it actually looks pretty good. Like they're playing on LAN, and all this shit. And it's like, how are you going to compete with that? I don't think that you can compete with that. You can't. So
Do you have to though? Like, is there enough room for both in India?
I
Like
mean,
a
I don't know
CS?
enough about
Maybe
the
not
player
in
base.
Singapore, maybe not in Vietnam, maybe not in Philippines, but in India, maybe.
I feel there is space for both, and I'll tell you why. Like, look, for the Nodwin thing, obviously it's going to be more watched, right? And I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't get why Valorant really popped off in India is also like it. If I'm not mistaken, memory serves me right, the Valorant launch almost coincided with the PUBG Mobile ban in India. So we had the biggest streamers, and I'm talking about streamers with like over 1 million followers on YouTube and whatnot. They immediately pivoted to Valorant. They have all these fancy PCs now, and a lot of people are like, oh, wait, you can play games on PCs? Kids have only played PUBG Mobile on their phones. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
this game looks great, right? So the viewership really popped off. It was just a great timing for the launch of Valorant, which is why it clicked right there. When it comes to people who play, I'm sure like the numbers are there. I'm sure there are a lot of people who do play Valorant, but I also know for a fact a lot of people who still do play Counter-Strike as well, who still stand by Counter-Strike, like it. And the really cool thing about Counter-Strike is the open nature of that. You can participate in that. Now for Valorant, sure, this I don't know how many teams the league's going to be in India. I think it's 8 or 16.
Yeah.
I forget.
I can't remember.
Whatever it is, like those other guys are going to be playing it. People are going to be watching it, but it's a whole different thing altogether, right? You're looking for viewership and sponsorships and sponsors and whatnot. This is more about participation, right? Smaller leagues, 128 teams, maybe 200 teams. I don't know, right? And get more people to play and start to kind of regrow the scene again slowly. And it might not work. And to answer your question, Jordan, I agree with you. I mean, I initially agreed. I would have agreed with you, where it's like, why don't you just like collate everything into one region, call it Dust2 Asia, Asia, whatever. But being able to like, go into specific countries, because one thing we've known about Asia is how hard it is to like get everyone on the same page, right? Mm-hmm. Look at what So Strong did with the next platform, the FPL for Asia a long time ago. Didn't quite pan out. Everyone still wanted to play with their own friends, their own regions and languages. Then we saw CS2 Asia do the same thing as well. They had the Asian Pro League, the APL.
CS2 Asia League,
that folded.
Yeah, Cal.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
Cal. Yeah, CS:GO Asia League. That failed. That folded as well, right? I mean, multiple orgs and multiple companies have tried to pull this off. It doesn't quite pan out. So maybe going a little bit more micro focused would make sense. It's easy to clump Asia under like the entire one banner, so to speak. But even if you look into one smaller countries here and there, let's look at Asia like Europe is what I'm proposing when it comes to Counter-Strike. Like you have these small little countries here like Thailand, but look at the population. It's like 3-4 times the population of like any random EU country out there, right? So concentrate on these small little things. The investment's going to be lesser, and whatever lessons you learn from one country region, you can probably apply to that. I think it's a very low stakes approach from Dust2, and which is why I feel it is viable. Are there other ways to approach it? Yeah, probably, but this is new. Right, so might as well give it a shot. That's my 2 cents.
I don't want to go in here and say like, oh, they shouldn't do it. This is a shit idea or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand it.
I did think it was a shit idea initially, but then I heard them out, and then I also realized that they aren't just going to. I was like, what are you going to cover? There's nothing to cover, right? And then I realized that they are going to be doing events. They are going to be pushing for events, and they're going to be covering it as well.
Point. That is the important. It's like they're not coming in and just saying, oh, we're going to be HLTV writing articles covering matches. If they come in and say we are a tournament organizer of some capacity, I'm not saying they need to be a big one, but if they're running online leagues or something like that, Yeah, I mean that definitely is going to be
So-
an incentive for people to play.
But you think they're like trying to ramp up before like the next version comes out, and then they're already kind of there, or what
It
do you
seems like
reckon?
perfect timing, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to coincide. Like, I don't. Again, I have no fucking clue. But my assumption here would be that it isn't because of CS2. It just happens to be good timing.
No one a month ago was doing anything thinking
Yeah.
about CS2.
So this would have been in the pipeline a while, and I think it just happenstance. And maybe that is the perfect, like, you know, you throw all these pieces into the pot and the recipe works out. We'll have to wait and see. But let's angle this back toward now just Asian CS in general, because we've been talking specifically about India for a fair bit, and I think there's a little bit to go over when it comes to Asian CS as well. Like, I mean, like I said, there's been some rumblings of interest. Dust to India, okay, that's one piece of the puzzle. I saw CS:GO to Asia tweeting again. You know, I mean, maybe I'm getting a bit too excited about absolutely nothing, but you know, 2-3 months ago they just said, "Ah, we're dead," but like.
Listen,
maybe
Jordan,
they're still looking.
It's a cycle, right? That's the thing with Asian CS. You get excited, you get hyped. Tai Lu take down fucking Luminosity, you get hyped, and then you get disappointed again.
Yeah.
But you can't get disappointed if you don't get hyped.
It's too late.
Right? I haven't been disappointed in Asian CS in a while. Guess what? Because there was nothing to be hyped about. But now I'm disappointed because IHC dropped Skor, and that's a good thing.
All right, let me
I have something to be disappointed about.
Let me hype you up
and
a little
that's
bit more,
okay.
so that you can get disappointed in 6 months. Okay, so
Let's do it.
Dust to India. We got CS:GO to Asia tweeting again. Maybe that's just reaching a little bit. Like we said, IHC's playing well. They're looking good. They're looking exciting overseas. It seems like they're kind of capturing the hearts and minds of the international audience again a little bit for Asian CS. Like, they're the first team in a while that's been able to go overseas, and people have actually kind of given a little bit of a shit, right? Like Tai Lu, no one cared. Rare Adam, Vici, no one really cared. Like, the results weren't there. And you know, you see that little bit of banter that they had with like the EG interview thing, like that kind of shit, right? People need to be seeing that for the region to get some fans. And you know, we've got the RMR back to 8 teams, and it's going to be on LAN again. So back-to-back LAN RMRs. This one now being 8 teams in the region as well, that is like basically popping off for Asia. Like, I can see this being the best Asian CS event in like the last, I don't know, 5 years, something like that. Like, when was the last like really good 8-team on LAN in Asia event that was for Asian teams? Like, I mean, Extremes LAN, but like
forever.
Extremes LAN's always been a bit of like I feel like more of a community kind of oriented event rather than like, oh, this is a big deal event. But like, this is basically a minor. We're bringing the minors back.
It's called. Can we just call them minors?
That's what I said. I made a tweet.
I
made a tweet like 3 or 4 months ago. I was like, RMR's a shit name.
Also, there was a rumor. I guess it's not like it will always remain a rumor, I guess, until we really know what really happened. But it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, a Perfect World Major in the second half this year, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen unless it's out of China. And if it's out of China, the Perfect World's not going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, right? But if it's going to be outside of China, that means it has to be a different TO, maybe ESL, maybe, you know, PGL or Blast are just doing the Parasite. I doubt they're going to do the second one. Whatever, it's going to be outside of Asia. But let's see, we have a major in Asia, right? Just a wild guess there. If let's assuming all the lockdowns in China completely lifted, like, all right, guys, we're gonna have one in Shanghai. Let's fucking go. I think, you know, it would be fucking great. But yeah, just to address what he just said, they're not great. But when you had absolutely nothing to look forward to when it comes to Asian Counter-Strike, when I have gone on record multiple times saying, listen, boys, apart from Mongolia and China, it's kind of fucking dead. And even then, I was like, yeah, they're just playing. It's not like they're doing anything. But in the past few months, with the small little things changing, and with Source 2 launching, listen, no one has any fucking idea what's going to come with Source 2, right? It could be a lot. It could be nothing as well. One thing I do know is
it matters. This is the thing. And one more thing that's got me hyped is Geographically Challenged is back. Like, so basically, if you weren't high on Asian Counter-Strike, you know, the fact that this podcast is back, I mean, that's putting it over the edge. Look,
we're back, bitches.
Pilski's even wearing his CS:GO to Asia shirt. I've only just realized that. Come on. Show it.
Yeah, I already did show. I showed it.
Do it again. Do it again. There we go.
So, you know, like, it's not just me. But what I will say is, like, and this is kind of getting into the CS2 discussion of it, I actually don't think it fucking matters what CS2 is. What I think is more important is like the zeitgeist that CS2 has kind of brought to the forefront, where people are like, oh, Like, Counter-Strike exists again. That's cool. This is a new version of Counter-Strike. Maybe we should try it out again. I know a lot of people that used to play Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
It's
in
not
Australia,
though, right? It's not a new version of Counter-Strike.
but again, it doesn't fucking matter. It's just what people think.
It doesn't.
And they're going to come back, and there's going to be, well, I mean, in theory, from what we've heard, right, there's going to be like this rank system and whatever. And like, there's a few little bits and bobs, and like maybe this jump throw fucking thing, whatever. I don't know what.
Yeah.
No one knows.
I'm just going to say, like, the one thing I know for a fact, I mean, I say for a fact, but the more confirmed rumors would be the ones from Richard Lewis, where it's like, it is going to be an upgraded, like, a leaderboard system, a matchmaking system, which, listen, if it's anything close to
Asian
what
players
Valorant
love
have,
that shit.
dude, if it's anything close to what Valorant have, holy fucking shit, that is massive. That is so fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is this 128 tick or a tickless server thingy, which is an upgrade of a 64 tick, right? There is a win right now, and then the jump throw bind, for example, that to me is a clue that they are looking into the small quality of life improvements as well. I don't know about the graphical upgrades. I don't know about anything else, but hey,
whatever.
Even if it's only these 3 things, the first one especially, the leaderboard system, whatever, it's already such a massive fucking, injection straight into the fucking veins of Asian CS. There's nothing bad out of this.
I just think it is the very fact that it's got people talking about and looking at Counter-Strike again is what could potentially be the difference maker. You get the casuals back in, and who knows?
No, it's so funny for me. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, CS it's there to have a new thing coming out, and you're like, CS is casually breaking peak player base records every week. We just crossed 1.4 million. It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. It's been happening for months now.
Yeah.
So CS isn't going anywhere. It's just that, hey, if Asia comes on in, fucking great.
So here's what I want to see, and it's not even related to the game, but I want to see if CS2 drops, everyone's playing it again. Like, this is the reset. This is a reset. This is what everyone was like, oh, when Counter-Strike goes free to play in Asia, it's going to be massive or whatever. It's like, whatever. This is now, I think, like the moment in time where if you're going to make anything happen with the Asian region, now's the time. It has to happen. Yeah. Again, we don't know when it's going to drop, but like, let's say it drops tomorrow. It has to happen before the end of 2023. You have to have something in like June, July, August, something like that. Set something up. I don't know who it's going to have to be. Whatever. It's going to have to be Mesa or one of these tournament operators that's like positioned in the region already. That's like kind of ready to go. Mesa or Perfect World or someone like that. I mean, ESL, we know what they could do, but like, let's be real. I'm not sure that that's going to be where their focus is. But it has to be something is going to have to go and drop some local support when everyone is interested. And
it's not just about that they have.
That's what happened with Valorant.
To interject.
People were interested in Valorant, and they started doing shit in the region, and then people started playing it.
If you're a TO, right? What do TOs really want to do? Listen, every TO starts out as not like, oh, we're gonna be a Dota 2 TO. Or you might start off initially as that, right? When you're just like starting off, but then eventually you want to have as many games as possible, want to have many profitable games as possible. Look at ESL; they used to do fucking everything. Right now, what's their main game? It's Counter-Strike, right? They are the Counter-Strike TO, and if you think about ESL, you think about CS. It's hand in hand right now. So if you're a TO, and let's say, even in India, I know there were like at least 4 or 5 TOs that came out of nowhere because of the Valorant boom and PUBG Mobile and whatnot. You're looking for a new game to pick up. You probably never tried before. Try Counter-Strike. You have nothing to lose. How many other games do you have? You don't have Free Fire, PUBG Mobile anymore right now. You don't have like Valorant. Obviously, you're going to be competing against Nordwin's prime property, which is not going to be easy. CS is there. You have nothing to lose. You have the hype going for you. Pick it up, do a couple of tournaments, and maybe this Dust2.in thing pans out. Maybe a couple of other TOs start doing their own competing leagues. Competition is fucking good. And then use that same formula to any of the Southeast Asian regions. Look, I'm not worried for Mongolia. I think they have a fucking rock solid scene right now. I think China will always sustain. They have enough TOs out there, who have an investment in the CS scene. But for Southeast Asia as a whole, if they're able to replicate this, right, with CS2's hype, so to speak, it could work. It could click. We could come back to a sense of normalcy in Asia when it comes to CS. Fuck, look at me. I sound like an optimist.
Yeah,
now.
I was going to say, like, I want you guys to reality check this. Like, am I getting ahead of myself, or can Counter-Strike 2 kind of bring some life back to Asia beyond
some life.
Mongolia and China?
I think this is what's going to happen, to be honest. I think that SEA and those kind of regions are probably too far gone. I think India is an exception just because of how many people there is. I'm kind of getting worried about China a little bit because Again, like I said, all of the regions that are thriving in Counter-Strike in Asia are the regions that are underserved by Valorant. I feel like Australia, I feel like it's underserved. China has been in a weird position where like obviously, you know, people don't really know if like they can actually make these official leagues happen or not. There's starting to be some more Chinese leagues that are like ramping up, and they've kind of been in this like will we, won't we kind of position where they're actually putting together like official Riot leagues and stuff like that. So China is like a question mark, and people are still committing to Asia. Mongolia, like I said, I don't even know if people play Valorant in Mongolia at all. I haven't seen anything to do with Valorant in Mongolia. So for me, I feel like you might get some like level of participation, which would be good, I suppose. You know, if you're able to get some other people. And as well, you've got to remember that in terms of what makes up the whole like Valorant scene, because at the end of the day, for me, this is a Valorant versus Counter-Strike thing, and Valorant is very clearly winning. But for me, there is a certain level amount of people in the scene who aren't going to play in whatever the regional challenges Asian event is, because there's only so many spots to go around. And those are people that are, a lot of them endemic to Counter-Strike and will probably still play Counter-Strike when it comes out. In fact, even a lot of the Valorant pros, if you look at India, you look at a lot of the Southeast Asian countries are from Counter-Strike. Like the Thai players, there's a fuck ton of them from Counter-Strike. The Indian guys, there's a fuck ton of them from Counter-Strike playing in those teams. So I don't know if you're going to be able to win those guys back over. I don't think it's likely. But you know, it would be nice to see some level of participation. You need to keep the regions that are doing well right now nice and strong and like reinforce that even more. Like China, I feel like you need China, Mongolia, and Oz. And I don't know what other countries you could try and save or like win back over, I suppose, because I think that that's pretty tough. I feel like Valorant's come in and killed it. But you know, listening at least even to you talking about India a little bit, Blair, and that you think that they could kind of coexist, that's something that I'm definitely intrigued by. So
I'm not looking forward to the you mentioned like all the you know, the XCS pros, like for example from Southeast Asia or from India who moved on to Valorant. I'm not expecting them to come back. In fact, I'm okay with them not coming back because obviously they have a very lucrative thing going with Valorant and whatnot. That's fair. I want to find the new players coming up. I've seen the same old, you know, Olivia's from Thailand. I've seen the same old players time and time again, just getting recycled, like Fox and like Right to Waste from India, whatnot. And look, they've moved on, and that's a good thing for them. I want to see the new guys coming out, the guys who never had an opportunity to be picked up because maybe there was gatekeeping. We know that happens all the time in a lot of these scenes as well, right?
Yeah.
I want to see new names, new fresh blood coming in, and I feel like that is the only way I can see a future in South Asian Counter-Strike, CSGO,
Right.
at the very least.
Is like an 8-team Asian RMR like enough support to like lock these people in if like CS2 comes out? Because that's like the thing that they're playing the prestige for. Like you've got some spots into Pro League, I suppose, but like, is there even enough opportunity there and enough support to get people from a casual player base kind of position into wanting to compete? Because, you know, you get the leaderboards, you're going to get these motherfuckers that are grinding in Asia. They love these leaderboards. You know, people grind Valorant. That's a thing that they definitely fucking got right for sure.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, like, are these players even going to have enough opportunity to want to commit? You know, that's kind of where I'm seeing it. It's like, and I don't know, like, who's going to double down on this shit, you know?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I mean, look, there are still a lot of tournaments happening in China. Like, you know, PWL is still a thing. All those Asian teams are playing in that. That's a 16-team league with a fairly decent prize pool. I think it's what? Just having a quick look here. Prize pool is 23,000 USD, I think 3 times a year. So, you know, it's not as if there's not stuff to play within the Asian region. It's just that I think you need these. I think, again, it needs to be led by the endemic TOs. It's not going to ever come from ESL. Their focus has very much shifted away from, we're going to be the kings of Asia, we're going to be the kings of Europe, we're going to be the kings of North America. They're basically just focusing on the top end of Counter-Strike. And like, yeah, you've still got your feeder leagues and stuff, but it's more like ESL Challenger League's like more of a token thing. These qualifiers are more of a token thing. It's like, we can't completely ignore these regions. They do need something within our ecosystem, but we're not going to have an ESL Pro League Asia like what we used to. I don't think that that's going to come back from someone like ESL or from Blast, for example. But Perfect World or Mesa, right? Like, Mesa Pro League, something like that. 8 teams on land in Mongolia, the top 8, whatever, something like that. $50,000 prize pool, some shit like that. I think that's what you need within this region to have people really kind of continue to invest alongside those other international qualifying spots and stuff like that. Maybe Mesa has this. Maybe they have this 6-8 week league, 8 teams in Mongolia, and then from the winner of that, you qualify through to a Blast Premier or something like that.
I'll give an example of why Valorant also blew up in India, right? I already said how the influencers, the streamers started streaming Valorant and whatnot. The Indian scene didn't rely on Riot coming in and being we're gonna have a league here or whatnot. You had a lot of endemic TOs, and they did it on their own. They have a couple of names I'm gonna drop, like Sky Esports. We have the Esports Club. These are much smaller orgs compared to, let's say, TOs compared to, let's say, Nodwin, for example, right? But they were doing it on the regular. They were doing it on the fly. I feel like they saturated a little bit too much, but that's maybe a good problem to have. I'd be happy for it to be saturated with CS events, right? But they did it on their own. And so even if there were no official events like the VCC, for example, which led to the VCT Asia qualifier that happens every once every 6 months or something like that, they had events happening every couple of weeks. Every couple of weeks, all the top teams being invited and whatnot. Obviously, it worked hand in hand with the boom of Valorant, with a lot of streamers streaming and whatnot. But if they're able to do that with the CS2 launch or push or whatever, and it just syncs up, it could really work out. And yes, I agree. You have Mesa, orgs like Mesa, a Perfect World over in China. And there are TOs out there in Asia. I know there are a couple, at least in India. I'm sure they're out there in Singapore, in fucking Malaysia or wherever, right? I'm sure they can do that as well. But again, the onus is on them. Do they see any business sense in doing it? I feel they should, because it just makes sense. Why let this, like you said, this refresh on CSGO, this new version of CS coming out, why do you want to let that go? It's one of the most stable esports we've ever had in esports history, right? And you have a great opportunity to come back in, and like DustDew.in are doing it. Trust me, I'm not their shill. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing over here? But now that I've heard what they have in store, I'm like, why not do the same thing? It's such a low stakes thing. Doesn't even have to have a crazy prize pool. Get a couple of sponsors there, do a tournament, see what the interest is like. And if there is no scene remaining, just build it back up. It's one of the best, in my opinion, the best esports ever. And you have another chance, another shot at making it happen. So if you're a TO listening to this right now, wherever you're from, fucking do it, man. The market is empty. You can seize that opportunity, or at least create it for yourselves.
And hire us. You cunts.
And hire us. Yeah. Cunts.
There you go. Look, I think that's probably a good spot
been a while.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping you would do it. I thought you wouldn't do it, so I'll just
It's been a while, Jordan. It's been a year and a half, right? So hire us, you cunts. There we go.
There you go. You need to get back on the horse. Hey, look, I think that's probably a good spot to end the show. Been about an hour and a half. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and if you did, do really let us know. Obviously, a lot of people have been asking, when's Geographically Challenged coming back? And I've kept saying, oh yeah, we'll do an episode for a year and a half. And it's finally here. So if you did enjoy it, we'd really appreciate it if you let us know, because that's kind of the reason we do it. Is
hit us up with the checklist to revive the Asian scene. Yeah. Well, what do you guys reckon?
Give us a comment. Give us a like. Do whatever. Give us a question for next week too. The best way to bait us into another episode is to give us questions, because then at least we don't have to do the work. It's like, oh, well, we've just got the topics written for us. Yeah. There you go. That's easy peasy. Anything you guys wanted to say before we go? Next episode, I think we'll try and do in a couple of weeks' time. RMR preview, exactly who we think is going to walk away with the 2 spots, and who's going to do well, who's going to do poorly, power rankings, all that shit. So that's what I think we're going to look forward to. But any 2 cents before we say goodbye?
No, not really. Looking forward to this RMR. Obviously, everyone was disappointed with the 4-team RMR, but having an 8-team Asian RMR is something to be happy about. And I think, like you said, this is exactly why we're thinking about doing the podcast again. It's it's not just been one thing. It's there's a couple of, positive things happening in the Asian scene. We get this 8-team RMR, we got some teams playing good overseas, we got stuff to look forward to. So fingers crossed it works out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the last time I was doing the math here. So our last Asian
I
CS
thought you were about to say
episode.
the last time I was happy and optimistic was doing the math. You're like, April in 2020.
That was a long time ago, but I feel like you said Azure hasn't played international CS in almost 2 years. I think 500 something days, right?
Yep.
I think it almost coincides with our last episode as well. So maybe it's a sign. Azure coming back. It's a sign for Asian CS, APAC CS in general. But no, I'm just happy we're back to doing this again. I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe we're going to go in hiatus again after like a few months. But at least while it's happening,
Yep.
I'm fucking happy to be back. Let's fucking go. Asian CS, baby. Woo!
Enjoy it while it lasts. That's all I'll say. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, especially if you got this far. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you follow Pilski and Bleh on Twitter and do all of those things. Like, comment, subscribe. Buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy. Almost said Patreon. That's gone. Buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy, which is a little bit better because you can do a one-off instead of subscribing. So maybe you want to give us $5 or something. That's all you need to do. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. There will be a next one, but beyond that, we're not too sure.